Hi, this is Mashnu, and it's day 3 of the middle game training. I've chosen for this position here that was played in 1956 in Moscow between the players Troianescu and Benitez, and we are looking at the position from White's point of view. It's White to move in this position, and we will follow the same procedure as in the earlier videos. So if you want, please pause the video for a few minutes and have a look at the position. Try to see whether black or white is standing better and why. What are the weak points, what are the weak pieces or weak squares or strong squares. So have a look at that, and after this I'll continue with the game continuation. Alright, so if we look at the position, one thing that is very clear is that here is a lot happening on this d file. The d6 pawn is weak. We call this pawn weak because it's cannot be defended by one of the pawns on the side, because those are not longer there, and it's very difficult to advance this pawn since the d5 square is attacked by two white pawns. So this is a very vulnerable point in black's position. Now at the moment there are 3 pieces attacking this pawn and also 3 pieces defending it, so it's not possible right now to take it for white. But here is where white uses the principle of the 2 weaknesses. The 2 weaknesses, that is in chess something that is used a lot in the middle game and also in the end game. It means that when your opponent has 2 different weak points, you can attack one and force your opponent to defend that one, and then switch the attack to the other weak point. And mostly it's very difficult for your opponent to defend both weak points because of your own initiative. You can choose when and how to attack the different weak points. So this is the principle of the 2 weak points, and in this position we will see that white starts to prepare this principle by provoking a new weakness in the black position. So this is weak point number 1. The question is, how can we create with white a second weak point? White played in this position the move rook d3 to h3. The idea is to bring the queen to the h file. So for example, a check on d5 and then the queen to h5. This way we would force black to either play h6 or g6 to defend with the rook, the h7 pawn. Now both moves, h6 or g6, would make a second weakness. If black plays h6, then we have these weak light squares and also a weak g7 pawn. So imagine after h6, imagine our queen being, for example, on g3, then we will threaten to take on h6 already. Or imagine after h6 our pawns advancing and breaking this defense open here. Now that last idea may be tricky because our own king is on g1, so we would have to do it very carefully to prevent a counterattack from black. Now in case of g6 we have this weak f6 pawn and a weak square on h6. So with rook to h3, white is provoking a second weakness in the black position. Perhaps this is not very clear right now, but if you see the rest of the game you will see how this is put into practice. Black answered g6 immediately. So what he wants is to defend the 7th rank, so there is no attack there is enough defense with the queen and the rook. Now the other side of this move, of course, is the weakness of the pawn on f6. Here white does a move that might look a bit strange. He goes back with the rook from h3 to d3. So we can say it looks as if he lost a tempo by going back and forth with the rook, but in fact we have the same position that we had before, but with a new weakness for black. So again, these are now the two weaknesses for black. Black played now a6 with the idea of starting some counterplay here on the queen side. White plays now queen to f4, and here we start seeing that both weak points are attacked by white. Now still they can be defended, and that's what black does. He plays king to g7, so the f6 pawn is defended and the d6 is also sufficiently defended. Now we start seeing a similarity with one of the previous videos that I showed you. I believe it was the first one. Yes, it was the first one, where we had this same idea of two weak squares on this side where the fianchettoed bishop was gone, remember? And because of this position of the black pawns, it's a well-known strategy for white to advance the h-pawn to try to break this open and make the black king vulnerable. And that's exactly what white does. He plays h4 here. Black tries to counterattack on the queen side. White takes on b5, a takes b5, and now white continues with h5. Black tries to bring all the attention to the queen side, and here comes a decision of white that is not easy to make. We have in fact 2 or 3 good moves here for white. Perhaps you would like to pause the video again and see what you would like to play here. I'll continue the explanation in a few seconds. Okay, so what we see here is, of course, black is attacking the rook. So a good move could be rook to f3 to attack this weak pawn here on f6. Another good move is to play h6 check. By playing h6, we could say on one hand that's strange because this is not opened then. But the good thing about h6 is that it forces the king either to go to f7 or to the back rank. If it goes to f7, then rook to f3 will be very, very powerful, because it's impossible to defend one more time the f6 pawn. And if it goes to g8 or h8 or f8, the defense of the f6 pawn will be gone completely. So that's the reason why here f6 was played, check. So king to g8 was the answer of black. Well, as I just explained, if king to f7 and rook to f3, and this pawn is going to fall, there is no way to defend it. So black plays king to g8. Now if we one more time look and ask ourselves what are the weak points in black's position right now, we can see 1, 2 and even 3 weak pawns. Of course, we can also say that the g7 pawn can become weak. If these two pieces are gone, then g7 is a very interesting point to attack. But right now there is a new weak pawn on b5, and white makes use of that by playing the rook from d3 that is attacked to d5. So now we have 2 pawns of black that are attacked. It's impossible to defend them both. So right now black plays king to f7. Now, why now king to f7 and not before? Well, the difference is that the rook now is here on d5 and not on d3. So the move rook to f3 that was possible before is not possible now. So now king to f7 is a way of trying to defend this this pawn on f6. But of course, the pawn on b5 falls now. Black still tries to get something done here on the queen side, plays c3, white took on c3, and the queen took on c3 again. So now again we have the same question for white: how to exploit black's weaknesses. The same idea is continued. The same idea of attacking the weak pawns of black. Rook from b5 to d5 was played. So now d6 is attacked 3 times by the rooks and by the queen. So black has to defend it. He plays queen to a3, defending the pawn and attacking the a2 pawn. And here we come to the moment where tactics start arising. We can say that these 2 pawns are pinned, and that makes the move e5 possible. F takes e5 is impossible, it's not a legal move, and d takes e5 would result in rook takes d7. Rook takes e7, rook takes e7 check, and then the queen would move away, so this wins a rook. So that means that black cannot take this e5 pawn. A little tactic. Black answered f5, tried to close this this position of the black king to keep it safe, but we see that with this move f5 the square g5 becomes weak now. That's something that always counts for a pawn move. I'll return it like this. Right now the g5 pawn or g5 square is defended by the pawn. Every pawn move leaves a weakness behind, and that's always the case. Always, when a pawn moves, it always leaves a weakness behind. White makes here use of this new weakness, and by playing the move queen to g5. And right now it's impossible for black to hold this position. Queen to f6 check is threatened, and in this position black resigned. He gave up. Let's have a short look at what the possible continuation could be. We cannot prevent this queen to f6 check, you see. So let's say, what if the queen goes to a7 to defend the 7th rank, for example? Well, in that case we give the check on f6. The king, let's say, goes to g8 or e8, doesn't much matter, because right now this one falls. And here, if this is traded, rook takes, we see that the rook is now attacked. Trading this rook would be more or less suicide, because we have a passed pawn here, we have a threatened queen to g7. If the queen leaves the 7th rank, we are threatening ourselves to advance this pawn by giving a check, then trying to advance it, and it is completely lost for black. So here, if the rook is not traded but played, for example, to f8, then we already can either trade rooks by playing rook to d8, or give a check on e6. Let's say we choose for the most simple way, the most clear way to try to win. If now this is traded, queen takes, king has to go to f7, now queen f6 check, king back to g8, and we start advancing the pawn, and it's impossible to stop this pawn now. So this is the reason why in this position, after queen to g5, black resigned. Is simply there's the position is impossible to hold. There are too many weaknesses and weak squares, and the king is too vulnerable. So let's have a short summary of what happened. We started here, and the first idea was to create a new weakness in black's position. We already have the black pieces tied up to the defense of this d6 pawn. So rook to h3, g6 already makes a weakness there, and then we go back and we start attacking the weaknesses. Now with h4, the defense of the black king is being attacked, and now the moment when we have to choose whether to move the rook or move the pawn forward, h3, h6 is a very strong move, king to g8, and now attacking the new weakness on b5. King to f7 defending the f6 pawn, rook takes b5. After a trade here, we go back to one more time attack the d6 pawn. He defends it, and then the tactics of advancing this pawn. And now the weakness on the dark squares, queen to g5, wins. Well, I hope this has given some new ideas about this principle of the two weaknesses, and I hope you can try to use it in your own games. Well, thank you very much for watching this time, and I'll see you tomorrow in day 4. Thank you.